we have another game where a lot of the scoring, all the scoring, took place over a very short period of time. So Columbus with the last change in this one, that's your home ice advantage in these playoffs, just having last change. And this is odd. If we didn't have the pause, the argument is going to be made if it wasn't for the pause these teams met in the playoffs, it might have been different. We'll never know. Tampa Bay, though, seems to be a little more prepared than last year, and it feels like there's some more drive, determination, and focus from Tampa Bay now than last year. Last year they took Columbus lightly, and this year not so much. And at the same time, Vasilevsky is having a nice little run here. Now, his numbers over the last couple of games weren't great, but I never threw him under the bus for any of that. And in this one, his numbers pretty darn solid. So through 4 games of these playoffs, against Columbus, he's been pretty good. Columbus, they're 3-0 coming into today after a loss in the playoffs. Atkinson was in, so there were reasons to think this was going to be a good game for Columbus. And early on, it looked like, it was going to be a good game for Columbus. They got the early pressure, and it led to a goal at 1:52 for Atkinson. And it's challenged us offside. Now, what I've started doing is simple. I throw the goal on the board, and as soon as I hear it's being challenged for offside, I just take it off the board. Because, honestly, very, very rarely is a goal challenged as being offside that it's not offside now. And that's the difference between now and last year, where you didn't have to worry about there being a penalty for certain challenges. You challenge, we lose our timeout. Now it's a penalty, so they don't do that anymore. So if a coach challenges, I know it's coming off the board. And as soon as that came off the board, you could feel a difference in the game. Lucky break for the Bolts because it was a really good start for Columbus, and that seemed to cut them off at the knees. Tentative back and forth play after that. Paquette takes a penalty. Columbus goes to the power play. There was only one shot during that power play, and Nyquist missed wide. So again, the finish just wasn't there. The shots were only 1 for each team through the first half of that period. To which Tampa's can answer with, fine by us. This is a different team than last year. Korpisalo passed his first test at around the 11-minute mark. Strong Columbus pressure at 13.5 minutes, but the shots were heavily in favor of Columbus at 8-3 at 15 minutes. So this was a game that was really in favor of Columbus, but the finish wasn't quite there, and you can attribute that to Vasilevsky having a better game. You can attribute that to Columbus maybe being a little bit more uncertain with some of their shots. The Bolts did push back with 4 minutes to go, but both goaltenders looked solid in that first period. Point and Kucherov had late chances. Korpisalo turned them both aside. So we go to the second period. 16 seconds into the second period, Barclay Goodrow scores from Coleman and Gord. And after that goal went in, Tampa Bay just turned it up. It was like they just realized, hey, this is our game now. And Yanni Gord would score to make it a goal and an assist for him today from Shattenkirk and Goodrow. So that line, again, prominent for Tampa, who haven't really needed much from guys like Kucherov. And of course, Stamkos being out really hasn't been a problem. Hedman, not a ton of points for Hedman so far in the playoffs. The guys that you would expect to see on the board aren't there. So at 4:09, they make it 2-0. We then get coincidental minors. It became a 4-on-4. Atkinson then gets a goal from Dubois and Werenski at 5:48. I thought you could challenge for goaltender interference. Now, Coach Cooper decides not to. I thought you might have maybe a 50-50 chance of getting goalie interference on that play. He doesn't challenge, and again, this is one of those, if they were only worried about losing their timeout, they probably would challenge there. But doesn't want to face a penalty, especially after Columbus made it 2-1. And Columbus was making a push after that, almost doubling Tampa in shots. In fact, 15 minutes into the second period, the shots are 10-4 in that period for Columbus. So they had all the pressure, but they're down by 1. Dubois then takes a penalty. Tampa Bay goes to the power play. Korpisalo would stop really good chances from Maroon and Johnson back-to-back. So we end up with a score that's still 2-1 after the second period. We go to the third period. Sergachev takes a penalty, Columbus goes to the power play. And to me, these are the key moments. These are the ones where you find out just how much Columbus has left in the tank. And it was a really strong penalty kill. And then Killorn was down, which led to an immediate scrum. And it's one of these plays where it's Pierre-Luc Dubois. So, of course, Pierre-Luc Dubois has been a part of a hit already in these playoffs that people got mad about, which was on, of course, Jake Muzzin against the Leafs. And he felled Killorn against the boards, and the announcers felt it could have been 5 in a game. They call it at 2. I'm fine either way. It's one of those things where you just go, you know what? I'm glad Killorn's okay. I'm glad he's still in the game and he's not injured. So Alex Killorn stayed in the game, but for Dubois, it does make him probably public enemy number 1 in Bolt fans' minds going into the next game, and probably for the players as well. So at this stage too, I was thinking if somebody's going to score the game tying goal, it's probably going to be Dubois, because that's kind of how this has worked throughout the playoffs. So that happened while it was still a power play. So we get a 4-on-4 for 19 seconds before Tampa Bay would get a power play. Dubois had a fast break that went wide. Korpisalo stopped Kucherov on the best chance that Tampa had on that power play. Kucherov, again, decent enough game, not on the board. But again, he'll look at the series and say, all right, okay. I haven't been producing, but it's all right because we're winning. Winning this year seems to be more important to Tampa than the statistics. And last year, you got a feeling that, maybe setting the wins record and Kucherov having that 128 points and all that things might have been more important statistically than necessarily keeping that team game together. Dangerous shot by Gord. He was trying to bank it in off Korpisalo. He was trying to do the same thing to Korpisalo that the Blackhawks did against Leonard last night. And it's something that players have kind of figured out. And you know what? You could kind of trace this back to Svechnikov and the lacrosse goal, where there is that space underneath the crossbar and over the goaltender's shoulder that if you can hit it, and if you can hit it from almost any angle, puck's probably going to go in. And so it felt like Gord was trying to do that as well, and we've seen that a lot in these playoffs. Vasilevsky had some saves at the 11-minute mark. There was then a near miss by Shattenkirk. Columbus pulls the goalie with 2 minutes and 5 seconds left, and then with 1 minute and 7 seconds left, they had 7 players on the ice. So, and you could see Tortorella behind the bench was kind of just, not happy with the whole situation, but one thing with Tortorella was yesterday he gave Columbus just a day off. He felt that the physical exhaustion's one thing, but he felt like mentally his players were having a hard time because it was just trying to keep it amped up like that every single day, every other day, and playing so much hockey. The physical toll's one thing, but the mental toll's another. So he felt they needed that day off. And based on the results from today, I don't know how you're going to give him more time off because, again, they're in a situation where the next game they could be out, but I don't know, something's just going on with Columbus. Something's a little bit off. And again, if you're a Blue Jackets fan and you feel like they're exhausted from everything they've gone through, that is absolutely valid. So Point tried to add the insurance goal during that power play, and he kept it down at the other end a lot. Goaltender gets pulled at some point, but really Tampa was just trying to bring it home, and they do. They win the game 2-1. Tampa Bay is now up 3-1. They're 1 game away from taking out Columbus and getting themselves a bit of a break before they'd start round 2 against whoever the lowest seed is that still remains in these playoffs. It's tough because honestly, kind of on some level, I'm rooting for Columbus based on the amount of heart they showed with that 5 overtime game in round 1, but it feels like that's pretty much all they had left. So the shots did favor Columbus for the game. 11-7 in the first. The shots were 11-10 for Tampa in the second. And then 8-4 Columbus in the third. Final shots 29-22 in favor of Tampa. Hits were 34-25 in favor of Tampa. Again, showing Columbus pretty worn down. Because only 25 hits seems like it's really low for a Columbus game. Power plays 0-3 for Tampa, 0-2 for Columbus. Again, Columbus's power play, which was an issue during the Toronto series, is still an issue. Vasilevsky saves 28 out of 29 in the victory. Korpisalo saved 20 out of 22 in the loss. Korpisalo was fine. Vasilevsky was fantastic. At some point, Vasilevsky will get some credit for being a pretty darn good goaltender in this series. But Korpisalo does kind of sort of overshadow him at this stage, and understandably so. But once this is over, maybe we can appreciate Vasilevsky for being a pretty good goaltender. No, not yet. All right. So there you go. Tampa's up 3-1. Let me know how you guys feel about that in the comment section below as always. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.